everyone. Welcome to That Spooky. I'm Johnny.
And I'm Tyler, and this is a weekly podcast that asks the question, what if Carrie was showered with support instead of pig's blood?
She could have opened up a really lucrative construction company or become like a large animal vet.
A large animal vet. She could have helped roll over the sick elephants.
Yeah, I would love to imagine Carrie just like birthing a baby rhino. Wouldn't that be so sweet?
She could have used her powers for good, girl, but...
She could have moved marble. I mean, like, that takes a crew.
Oh, yeah, she could have cleaned windows like a skyscraper.
Yeah, Carrie could recreate the fucking pyramids in one day with her mind.
That's the tea. So, lesson learned, support your freaks.
Yeah, support your psychic children. So, I guess we're just going to get into it. 2 minutes of Drag Race?
Yes, mama. 2 minutes of Drag Race. Season 11, episode 2.
I appreciate how into it you are. Okay, high points, low points?
Okay, high points for me is exactly kind of what I would hope would happen. So going back to last week when we talked about episode 1 and we were talking about Silky being extra. Well, this week we got some context to her extraness. I loved the moment when RuPaul was interviewing her about being extra because the other queens were kind of talking smack behind her back, saying how she was loud and she wasn't a team player. She was just seeking camera time and all this stuff. And then she was like, I'm going to do business when it's time for business, but when it's time for pleasure, I'm going to have pleasure. And it's like, yes, that is a philosophy, girl.
100%. Yeah, I'm totally there with you. I really appreciated how she came through in this episode. I would have to say that my high point is, well, everyone's baby Evie Oddly. She did so well this week.
She turned it out in every way.
She changed the register of my voice. Yeah, it was so good. It was flawless. Like the challenge, the runway, the entertainment, butting heads with people. Like, yeah, give it to me.
She brought the drama and she called out the shit, and that is what I'm here for.
Yeah, start engraving her name on the back of that fucking crown. By the way, I just want to give honorable high point shout out to Miss Vanjie.
Oh my god, yes.
Just an absolute vision.
She was insane.
I loved it.
In that acting challenge where she was doing dorky.
Yeah, they're like, do dorky dad, and she just does it like a cigar smoking baby. It was fucking fantastic. I'm here for it.
It was so good.
All right, so low points?
So low point for me would have to have been Nina. I feel very much like Tyra Banks yelling at Tiffany with this. Like, I want so badly for Nina to do really well, and she's got the personality. She acted well, but she looked a mess on the runway. A mess. Mama, what was that? That dress, that lion decal that looked like something that would be on the back of a pickup truck. Oh. What? It was.
I know.
It was, and I don't want it to be true.
No, but it's not true.
It's true.
It's not true. I think she's too wonderful.
She is. She's amazing.
I know.
I just want to see it a little bit more.
I know, but you know what? You're seeing who she is when those acting challenges come out, and not every queen has to be a runway queen, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, being good at Drag Race is different than being a great drag queen, and she's a fucking phenomenal drag queen, but she's just not necessarily showing what we're hoping for on Drag Race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just know she could do so well. She's so good.
There's still time. I would have to say that my low point was... I didn't really know how to feel about watching a group of predominantly white people do a parody of Black Panther.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for me to say how problematic it was or was not. I'm definitely interested in hearing those points, though, and I feel like there should be space for those conversations to be had. But the big part of it is that you could have done that parody and had it be successful, but it had to be really, really, really fucking well written. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't listen to Drag Race, basically all of the drag queens got split into a team. One of them did a parody of Get Out. Another one did a parody of Black Panther. The deal is the Get Out parody was super well written and it stood alone as a funny skit.
Yes.
But the Black Panther one, though, it's referential, blah, 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 but it just wasn't as well written and flushed out, and it didn't really stand on its two legs as much. And if it's going to be a bunch of white queens doing a parody of Black Panther, then it just needs to kind of be bulletproof to be funny.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope. But anyway, it was a great episode. I'm happy with it.
Yes,
Looking forward to episode 3.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, that was the gay part of spooky gay bullshit. Do you have something spooky?
I do.
And I think you mentioned to me that it's also kind of bullshit.
It's a lot of bullshit, mama.
Can't wait.
Okay, so have you ever heard of universal medicine?
No, it sounds like big pharma kind of shit.
It's not. They're actually a cult.
What?
Yeah, I had never heard of them before, but essentially they are a cult that have been accused of being socially harmful. So in a civil court in Australia in December 2018, the cult leader Serge Benhayan was found guilty of false claims about healing practices.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically he has used forms of what they describe as sexual manipulation on his followers, basically saying that breast massages have healing properties.
What?
He has also told his followers that burping excessively helps to ward off evil spirits.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, I see you.
Right?
You little fetishist in disguise.
Right? To further the fact that they're just a fucking cult, many of the followers have been encouraged to shun their loved ones who will not join the cult. So pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, very culty.
But anyway, this guy is like a millionaire and he lives in Australia. They were operating out of Australia, but I guess because of this civil suit, they have had a lot of heat on them in Australia. So the group has now started meeting in a bed and breakfast called the Lighthouse B&B, and that is over in the UK in Somerset. So it seems like the group is moving. Exactly. So also this guy, Serge Benhayan, apparently he claims to be the reincarnation of Leonardo da Vinci.
No, ma'am.
Mama, no.
No.
Also, his response to all of this media attention and the fact that he had this civil lawsuit, he basically is claiming that he is a victim of a media witch hunt that wants to expose him as a cult leader, which he claims not to be, even though there are many family members that have said that they have family members that have joined the cult who they have now been like exiled from. Like one woman was like 12 years old when her mother joined the cult, and she just started burping a bunch and then just eventually just distanced herself further and further and further and further away from their family, to the fact that they're just like estranged now. The daughter is just like, I can't do anything to stop this. Like she won't leave this cult. She won't talk to me.
She won't stop burping.
She won't stop burping. I've just given up.
Girl, no. Get out.
Right?
Oh.
Get out. It's a cult, mama, leave. And I mean, members are also apparently told like what to eat, when to sleep, who to communicate with, and it's all going down in Somerset right now, mama. So if you're in Somerset, be really careful.
They're climbing in your windows. They're snatching your people up, trying to convert them to their dumbass cult. And I just want to say right now, you are reading that from another source, right? This isn't just us sitting here running our mouths. I'm just saying, legally speaking, hello, we borrowed this car. It is not ours. If there is any fingerprints on it, it is because of who?
It is because of mirror.co.uk and the BBC.
Mirror.co.uk and the BBC. It's all them. It's not us. Just because you're a rich cult leader who has a thing for burps, I don't want to say anything, but holy fuck.
This alleged cult that allegedly burps, that allegedly alienates people from their family, is allegedly dangerous.
We remember Heaven's Gate from a few episodes ago. Everything was chill till the Hale Bob comet popped up one day, and then suddenly they weren't just a little harmless alienating cult anymore.
That's the tea, mama. And it seems like we're kind of at that day of an age now. You saw it happen quite a few times in the 90s. You saw it happen in the 70s. Now you're seeing it happen again, where these little cults that have been like really quiet for decades and decades, all of a sudden have followers, have maybe some financial backing, and now they're just like out and loud, and you're just like hearing about all these weird cults that we'd never heard about before, but that have been apparently operating for like decades. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They just hide in plain sight.
That's it. So
fuck.
Yeah, universal medicine. I had not heard about it before.
No, mama. If anyone asks you if you want universal medicine, you say no.
No.
You say my life coaches Johnny and Tyler said no.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like Mariah Carey says, that's a no-no.
All right. Well, that's terrifying. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Oopsie poopsies?
So not an oopsie poopsie necessarily, but an addition to. So do you remember our boy from the Dibby Box story last week named Kevin Manis?
Yeah, how could I forget him?
Yeah, well, a listener after the episode was released tipped us off that Kevin Manis had been on an episode of Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. And guess where they were? They were hanging out at the Haunted Museum, doing the Dibby Box dance, whatever, hanging out with the Dibby Box.
Just drinking some cold shots, listening to some Jack Johnson, playing some Xbox, just broing out, man.
That's it. But
Love
also
life, popping their collars.
Yeah, exactly. So they were doing all that.
Sunglasses on the top of their head.
Yeah. But then also apparently they were into, or at least least Kevin Mannis was into standing in a corner and reciting weird poetry.
Love it.
Yeah, so seemed like he was just, I guess, like possessed or like overtaken by the Dybbuk box, and this was on the episode, but then I guess it was found out later that this random, strange, mysterious poem that he recited on this episode was a poem that he had like written or posted on Facebook sometime prior. So it was just Kevin Mannis being a bowdy bitch, standing in the corner, reciting poetry, trying to be spooky ooky, but just being messy ass queen, and basically just got caught on being a fraudster. So, you know, the Dybbuk box. Is it real? I don't know.
All right, well, my oopsie poopsie is pretty straightforward. It's a pronunciation thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so Johnny, you so crazy. It's Siegel, not Sigil. Mispronounced someone's last name.
Okay.
In my defense, it was written Sigl, but, you know, I just wanted to make sure that I got that name right.
Right.
I just don't want anyone to come for me.
Yeah, you don't want any seagulls coming for your gig.
Look, we signed up for Twitter a few months ago, and I just don't want a shitstorm, you know what I mean?
Totally fair.
Because they're wordsmiths on that part of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, an ugly girl like you could never come for a pretty girl.
You crawl out of the swamp?
Okay, well, I'm going first this week, right?
Yes.
Because mine's a little bit scarier than yours, I think we've established.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to relax and listen.
You're not going to relax, trust me. So this week, I'm going to be talking about the hauntings of the LA Comedy Store.
Oh, I don't know her.
Well, get into her. I actually didn't really know about this until a few weeks ago when I was listening to My Favorite Murder. You know that show?
Oh, yeah. Oh, did they talk about this on that show?
Karen mentioned it, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was tuned in on my ham radio one day, and they were like, blah, 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 hauntings at the Comedy Store. So shout out to the mother of the house of Nope, Karen Kilgariff.
Yes.
And I mean that like drag mother of a drag house, not like an actual mother, because she is no one's mother.
Right.
Which I completely identify with.
We are no one's mother, nor do we want to be anybody's mother.
Literally and figuratively. So many thanks for tipping me off to this. Basically, as soon as I heard it, the bells just started ringing, because I've heard of the Comedy Store before. I've seen clips from people performing there, but I never knew that it was like actually one of the most haunted places on the Sunset Strip.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so the Comedy Store is a legendary comedy club located on Hollywood's Sunset Strip. It's in West Hollywood, WeHo.
Ooh, yes.
Yes.
Land of the Queens.
Absolutely love it. And it's at the intersection of Sunset Boulevard and North Olive Road.
Okay.
Cool. Never been there.
No.
Whatever. But it's kind of like a training ground for comedians in a lot of ways, or like a proving ground. Whatever fucking war term performers try to apply to what they do.
Right.
They tell a lot of jokes, and some people make it, some people don't.
It's like Fight Club with jokes.
Sure. So it's helped launch the careers of a ton of people. They started up in the 70s. They've seen the likes of like Bette Midler, Robin Williams, Tim Conway, Chris Rock, Jim Carrey, Richard Pryor, a whole bunch of really cool folks. But a lot of people kind of like owe the Comedy Store to starting their comedy career. And it's like a place where a lot of industry people go and look for new talent. And basically you can go there on just about any night and see a mix of like really good newcomers and really seasoned vets.
That's cool.
Love it. So it's a 3-story building. It's got 2 performance spaces downstairs. There's like the original showroom and then the main showroom. It's got another venue upstairs called the Belly Room. This will all come into play, trust me.
Okay.
And then there are offices throughout the 2nd and 3rd floor.
Right.
Before it was the Comedy Store, though, it was a club called Ciro's. That's C-I-R-O.
C-I-R-O. Okay.
Fancy.
I was like, I couldn't get zero out of my head.
Yeah, well, that's why I spelled it.
All
so this was back when the Sunset Strip wasn't under the jurisdiction of Los Angeles, though. It was kind of its own thing that actually went from like 1870 until 1984.
Weird.
Yeah, so there was a ton of legal shit that went down on the Sunset Strip, a lot of mob-controlled businesses, like a lot of shakedowns, drinking during Prohibition, sex work, all that kind of good stuff.
Damn, it's the place to be.
It's very LA.
Yeah.
So the first occupant of the building was Club Seville. It was built in the 30s. Whole bunch of drinking, whole bunch of illegal gambling. Essentially, it was crashed by a vice squad in 1938 and shut down.
Right.
By 1940, it was reopened by William Wilkerson, who was a real estate mogul and nightclub owner. He's also the founder of The Hollywood Reporter.
The paper.
Yeah, so Mama knows the tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, his hair is full of secrets. And in 1946, he was actually the guy who published Billy's list of communist sympathizers in The Hollywood Reporter, which basically led to the Hollywood blacklist for communist sympathizers, like all those actors that weren't able to work for so long because people thought they were in bed with the Russians.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's this guy. So just a banner fucking dude. And he essentially redid the place and branded it as Ciro's. And this is where shit becomes legendary, but not necessarily in a great way. So Wilkerson is notoriously friends with this famous mobster, Bugsy Siegel, and Mickey Cohen, who was kind of like boss baby mob man of the Sunset Strip. He ran everything. He would like shake down businesses once a week, like Ciro's specifically. He actually ran a brothel next door from the 1920s until the 1950s, and he basically took a cut out of Ciro's profits. He was like, oh, you want to exist and not get fucked with too hard? You don't want me to break everyone's legs? Cool, you're going to give me a bit of the till every week.
Like, what the hell kind of power is that? Like, how do you get that power? How can you just walk into a business and be like, you have to pay me to not hurt you?
Welcome to the Sunset Strip before it was under the jurisdiction of the city of Los Angeles.
That is serious shit, mama.
It's only going to get worse. So, Little Mickey also gave himself an office up top at Ciro's. So he was probably like, I don't really like the lighting in the brothel, so I'm going to go up on the second or third floor. That's going to be cool. Otherwise, bang, bang.
Right.
And the deal is he supposedly did a bunch of his mob business in the basement of Ciro's. So Ciro's became a pretty established Hollywood nightclub. Like all of the famous actors would go there. It was kind of like a who's who at any given point. Like JFK, when he first came to California, went to Ciro's.
Damn, she was like super chic.
Yeah, you want Betty Davis to throw a drink at you, you go to Ciro's. You want Joan Crawford to beat you with a wire hanger, go to the coat room at Ciro's.
And I mean, who doesn't?
You and every other gay man in the world.
Yeah.
So the mob business that Mickey Cohen was doing in the basement included, like knee breakings, executions, all that kind of stuff. Supposedly, he also ran a back alley abortion clinic out of a space on the third floor.
That's just crazy.
Or out of one of the spaces upstairs at Ciro's. Some people do say it's in the basement, but from most of the reports that I've heard of this alleged back alley abortion clinic, it was upstairs. But these things can be hard to pin down.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't find it on Google Maps anymore.
Yeah, there are no Yelp reviews.
Zero. But basically the deal is it's like you don't pay your gambling debts, boom, let's go down to the basement. You want to fuck around with one of the wait staff? Cool, let's go down to the basement. They had a dedicated kill room down there supposedly, and a lot of people believe that this was the source of the hauntings that would happen in the future. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. That sounds like a lot of misery in one place.
Yeah, and a lot of people also cite the back alley abortion clinic because those things were kind of notorious for causing fatalities, etc., for also giving the building some of its ghostly occupants. Basically, the clientele that they supposedly saw in this clinic would be like showgirls who worked at Ciro's, and also like girlfriends of mafia bosses and people that are, connected to Mickey Cohen in some way.
Right.
And supposedly they found evidence of Mickey actually keeping a female abortion doctor on his payroll. So there is like a little bit of legitimacy to this whole urban legend, people believe.
Right.
And ultimately, they think she had been killed by the boyfriend of a woman who didn't survive the procedure.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and like procedures in big old air quotes.
Yeah.
So Ciro's, hot nightclub.
A hot nightclub festering in the pit of fucking hell. Like, what the fuck? Imagine just like getting your cocktails, doing your thing, schmoozing, and like somebody's being tortured in the basement below and you don't even know. Or somebody's like having an illegal abortion that's super dangerous up above your head. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, especially when you consider that like Marilyn Monroe and Sidney Poitier and Marlene Dietrich and people like that were in the building just sipping on cocktails.
Yeah.
Like, this was the place where the after party for Citizen Kane was held.
Oh, mama, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and fun fact, actually, a few years later, Liza Minnelli got married there.
No way.
Yeah, she married Jack Haley, who was the Tin Man's son. So Dorothy's daughter married the Tin Man's son.
Oh my God.
In this hellhole, and they covered up all the signs at the time and made it look like the old Ciro's because they just wanted to relive all that mob goodness.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Ciro's gets sold to Herman Hoven, a restaurateur, in 1942, and he opens the doors to the public. So it keeps growing in popularity until the rise of rock and roll, where the club is sold again in 1957, and then basically basically Ciro's was rebranded Ciro's Le Disc.
Oh, like it was the disco.
Yeah, and then my favorite name, it was called It's Boss in 1968.
Are you fucking kidding me?
100% no, and it actually thrived as a rock club for a little bit. It's where the Birds were discovered.
And the Birds are Boss.
I know, right? Boss says. So, It's Boss goes out of business. Surprise, surprise?
No.
Probably the marketing. The Comedy Store is the next business to open up in there. Basically, in April of 1972, these two comedians, Sammy Shore and Rudy DeLuca, rented the main room at Ciro's to open up a comedy club. Now, the venue was originally like a 99-seat theater with like a little stage and everything like that, and it ended up getting its name, the Comedy Store, by Mitzi Shore, who is Sammy Shore's wife. These are the parents of Pauly Shore.
Ooh.
And he's actually the current owner.
Pauly Shore owns the Comedy Store?
Yeah.
Encino Man owns the Comedy Store?
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't Encino Man, but I get what you're saying.
Well, yeah.
And it's so funny because I always felt like a big part of pop culture when I was a kid was making fun of Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
And now knowing this, it kind of makes me go like, I wonder if all those LA comedy guys resent Pauly Shore for being like the boss's son, so they just rip him whenever they have a chance and they're like on a network show and they're safe.
You might be right.
They're like, I'm not concerned with grinding it at the Comedy Store anymore, so I can fire my shots now.
Right. Jealousy comes in many shades, mama.
Anyway, so basically they open it up and it's not really going that well.
Yeah.
Sammy Shore and Rudy DeLuca aren't really nailing the business side of it. And Sammy ends up getting a divorce from Mitzi in 1973. The good thing about this is that Mitzi ends up taking control of the Comedy Store then.
Right.
And she's actually able to purchase the entire building, so they're not just renting out the 99-seat space that they were in in 1976. So like within 3 years, she was turning enough of a profit with her business acumen and like her running of the Comedy Store to be able to buy the fucking building.
Yes,
and
good.
as soon as she took over it and really got control of the motherfucker, she renovated it so that they would have a 450-seat showroom.
Whoa.
That's when she also opened up the second space, the belly room upstairs. So it's like a smaller, more intimate venue. The other deal was the Comedy Store downstairs was for the boys, and the belly room was meant for a stage for the women to be able to perform in.
Ooh, gender segregation. Love it.
I know. Women supporting women, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of question around why it's called the belly room. Some people are like, oh, belly laughs, maybe.
That's what I would think.
Some people say it's because back in the day of Ciro's, belly dancers would do private shows for guys up there.
Okay.
Some people also say that, hey, that's the room where the abortion clinic was.
Ooh.
Morbid as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe that's where they ate pork belly.
Yeah, that would be the least problematic of all of the names.
Yeah.
So the deal is the Comedy Store opens, all these great renovations, all this cool shit. And it's still open to this day. So to review, Ciro's, whole bunch of mob shit.
Yeah.
Bad vibes.
Yeah.
Comedy Store opens up, Mitzi takes control, she rocks it, opens up a whole bunch of new spaces.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're occupying the whole building.
Now, I can't believe you totally glassed over the fact that it was It's Boss for a little while, Johnny. Its most prolific era.
Well, I need to get past page 3 of my story, so I'm omitting certain things. I'm very sorry.
JK mistake.
So, by the time the 80s rolled around, stories of hauntings really started to pop up around the Comedy Store, to the point that in 1981, they actually had their first formal paranormal investigation in the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was led by Larry Muntz, who's a parapsychologist. Deal is, for the first few years, when comedians were reporting having like weird encounters with the paranormal in the club, the bosses didn't really know how to take it. Like, okay, these are a whole bunch of funny people, just, you know, telling stories, trying to one-up each other, comedian shit.
Sure, pranksters.
But in 1981, when they bring in Larry Muntz, he brings a team with him from the International Society for Paranormal Research. When they go through the building, they say that they can hear sounds of babies crying upstairs in the belly room, and that they thought it might be an abortion clinic.
Right.
Yeah, and the deal is, supposedly, they didn't really know about all the lore that surrounded Ciro's and all this like mob stuff that had been going on, but these people just essentially went in there and they were like, bam, this is what I'm seeing.
Right.
So the hairs on the back of people's necks started to really go up. And they're able to essentially identify a spirit in the Comedy Store. His name's Gus, supposedly, and they say that he was the ghost of a mafia hitman who essentially was like ready to go to hell, but then was completely taken by surprise by the fact that he was stuck in purgatory and just kind of like stuck in limbo on Earth.
Oh, shit.
So he's just kind of like this wandering, restless spirit. And the International Society for Paranormal Research actually did a few more investigations at the Comedy Store over the years. And in 1997, they were able to identify 5 specific spirits that they felt at the Comedy Store. So first one is Gus, also known as Francis, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, supposedly his real name was Francis, but people called him Gus.
Right.
And he was a doorman at Ciro's and a mafia hitman. She's busy.
Yeah, girl, working 2 jobs, getting shit done.
And the next spirit is one named Anthony, who was also a doorman and a hitman, which kind of makes me wonder if there are transferable skill sets between the 2 jobs.
Right.
Like, what am I missing here?
Yeah, must be a connection in the job market somewhere.
I just want to know their professional path.
Yeah.
The third ghost is Ellen. She's an elderly woman, and supposedly she was the one who performed illegal abortions upstairs in the belly room back when it was Ciro's.
Right.
So I'm assuming then this must also be the person that Mickey Cohen had on the payroll.
Right.
The person who was killed by one of the husbands of the women who she accidentally killed in her clinic.
It sounds like a recipe for ghosts. I mean,
yeah, one part shoddy back alley medicine, another part revenge. You got a ghost. So number 4, Sharon. Sharon is supposedly a young woman who died while being given an abortion by Ellen.
Right.
So they know each other.
Awkward.
I know. It must be so weird when they run into each other.
Yeah.
I know. And then the 5th one is Steve Lubetkin. Now, Steve Lubetkin was a real person. He was a comedian and a really good friend of Mitzi Shore, kind of from the onset of the Comedy Store. He was originally from New York. He performed all around the comedy circuit or whatever, but was kind of a golden boy at the Comedy Store.
Right.
The deal is, in 1979, there ended up being a comedian strike. So all of the comedians had been performing at the Comedy Store from the beginning for free.
Oh.
Basically, it was explained to them as like a mutually beneficial thing where like the Comedy Store has talent, but then they also get all this celebrity exposure and, you know, the clout that comes with performing at the Comedy Store.
Now, working for exposure in any field is total bullshit.
Completely. And a lot of people agreed with you. So basically, the comedians ended up establishing a union called Comedians for Compensation. Now, on paper, it's a job action, not a union, because they were considered independent contractors. What the fuck ever, they picketed.
Yeah, they stood up for their rights like moms on strike.
Yeah, just like the Lifetime movie. So basically, they picketed, things got really heated, and even though things got settled, the comedians that led the strike ultimately got banned from the Comedy Store. Steve Lubetkin was one of those comedians. So even though everything got resolved, he was hoping that he would be able to come back, and then when they were like, sorry baby, you're banned for life, he basically felt like he had no other option. And it's really unfortunate, and that's why I'm kind of like, I get uncomfortable hearing all these ghost people be like, oh, it's Steve, blah, 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 because this was somebody who really felt like their livelihood was wrapped up in their ability to perform at this place, and he was devastated by this. And this was something that even really affected Mitzi Shore for a long time, because they were good friends, and it's a really sticky situation. So basically, he had jumped off the neighboring hotel, the Continent Hyatt House, from the 14th floor in 1979, and he had a suicide note written that read, "My name is Steve Lubetkin. I used to work at the Comedy Store."
Shit.
His intention was to actually land on the Comedy Store.
Right.
And he ended up missing and ended up in the lot next door. But people basically say that they believe that because of, you know, his fixation in life on getting back into the Comedy Store, that's ultimately where his spirit is resting.
Right, because he couldn't get there in life, but he sure as hell got there in death.
And that's the thing. So the International Society for Paranormal Research identifies these 5 ghosts, and supposedly on the night that they're there in 1997, they're able to help Ellen and Sharon pass over.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, once again, the Comedy Store is a fucking boys club.
Right.
Now, sometime later, a sketch artist from the area actually came by, and according to her, she knew nothing about the history of comedy or like the scene or anything like that, but she basically came into the building and was like, ooh, I'm seeing something in here. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, she was a sketch artist and a psychic. So basically, she was like, I see what I see and then I draw what I see. And she sketched out the entity that she saw, and a lot of people thought that it had resembled Ollie Joe Prater, who had performed at the Comedy Store a lot and died in 1991.
Oh, so he was a potential spirit there as well?
It just seems like everybody wants to haunt the Comedy Store.
Right? It's the place to haunt.
And according to Laurie Jacobson, the author of Hollywood Haunted, who used to work at the Comedy Store, it is packed, in her words, from the basement to the rafters. So let's go through the building, but we're going to start at the rafters, go down to the basement.
Right.
Because we're going to start from least scary to scariest.
That's what I was going to say. That sounds like a journey into the spookiest.
You're welcome. So we're going to do this by space because there's not a really great linear timeline of this. A lot of this information that I have is put together from like interviews, anecdotes, all that kind of shit.
Right.
The first one comes from Bobby Lee, comedian, Mad TV.
Oh, yeah. I remember him. Yeah.
Now, he was once doing an out-of-town gig, and he left his vehicle at the Comedy Store. Now, he comes back from this gig late at night. It's like 4 a.m., and he's dropped off by his friend Johnny Sanchez.
Right.
When they're in the parking lot, you know, saying their goodbyes and all that shit, they look toward the Comedy Store, and on the third floor in a window, they see a man wearing a top hat, pressing his face and his body against the window, looking out directly at them.
That's scary as hell.
It terrified them because the building was shut down for the night. They screamed, they looked away, and then when they turned back to look at the Comedy Store, the guy had just vanished.
Right, because the guy was a ghost.
Yeah, and this is the deal with the paranormal occurrences at the Comedy Store. A lot of people think that they see humans or humanoid entities.
Right.
So another comedian named Argus Hamilton remembers seeing figures out of the corner of his eyes whenever he'd be upstairs playing the arcade games at the Comedy Store. And according to Mike Becker, who is the vice president of the store at one point, he's upstairs in a room that adjoins to his office, so kind of like an anteroom. There are other people in there, and all of a sudden he sees this guy wearing a tweed jacket who Michael Becker said looked like he was from the 1940s just walk into his office. And he's just kind of like, hey there, who's this bitch walking into my office like she owns the place? He asks the person in his room, like, did you see that guy? Other person's like, no. What guy? Looks in his office, doesn't see anyone there. But he was 100% sure that he had seen a man wearing a tweed jacket walk directly into his office. And there was no other way to come out but the way he came in.
Right. You can't miss a tweed jacket.
It is a glaring fashion faux pas. So, according to a source, there have also been numerous seances up on the third floor or like the second floor, just like in one of the rooms. Supposedly, it's in this room that Mitzi Shore kept locked for 30 years.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. But according to a comedian that worked at the Comedy Store, they were in the building. It was close to 3 a.m. Basically, as they were, you know, about to go home, they noticed that there was activity in this room that is usually locked.
Weird.
They peeked in the crack of the door, and there were people in the room doing a seance. And supposedly, they were in purple robes. And allegedly, I'm saying this for legality, allegedly, one of the people was Lily Tomlin.
Really? She would be the bitch to be doing a seance in the middle of the night at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, and a seance in an effort to contact Andy Kaufman, no less.
Oh.
Yeah, so supposedly they heard all of these comedians up in that locked room doing a seance in purple robes to Andy Kaufman.
Huh. I don't know. Comedians, you can never read them. Like, are they doing it in sincerity or are they doing it ironically?
Yeah, like maybe they were just legitimately trying to do like an Andy Kaufman bit.
Right.
You know, that like not funny but funny kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to read.
I guess we're just not cultured. Now, one of the other kind of notable sightings of a figure up on the third floor was a guy in a World War II bomber jacket. So it had originally actually been seen on the main floor. There's this guy named Blake Clark, and he's in a lot of the stuff that I can find about the hauntings at the Comedy Store. He was in the Unsolved Mysteries. He's been quoted in a whole bunch of articles, etc. He was a doorman.
And a hitman?
Close, a comedian.
Okay.
Yeah, he killed people with laughter.
He was hitting them with jokes.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. But basically, one day he was down in the back room of the club on the main floor playing a game, and he noticed somebody walk by him. It was this guy dressed in a World War II bomber jacket, and he thought this was kind of out of place. So he tries to speak to the guy, being like, hey, tell me about your fashion choices, or something like that.
Right.
As soon as the guy is acknowledged, he vanishes into thin air.
Why'd ghosts be doing that all the time?
Well, at this point, I don't think we were having collective conversations about ghosting as a part of our culture, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was a different time.
Totally.
Yeah, people were ignorant. So basically, Blake Clark sees this ghost downstairs. A little while later, there is a woman working in a third floor office. She goes into her office, and this guy is crouching in the fucking corner, staring at her, looking terrified.
No.
And she's like, oh, hi, weird looking scared man crouching in the corner of my fucking office, Twin Peaks style. What's going on? He vanishes.
Yeah, best believe I wouldn't be sticking around to even ask him what's going on. I would be running in the other direction.
Yeah, girl, just imagine like a dude dressed for World War II giving you puppy dog eyes, shaking in the corner of your fucking office when you're just like going about your business.
Nope.
Now, getting back to the main floor, there's a lot of spooky shit that goes on down there.
Right.
One night, staff are working, going about their business, and I guess like the central back door has a window in it, and they could see somebody peeping in at them.
From the outside, like outside the store?
Yeah, so there's like somebody standing outside the back door, just like peeping in, like face pressed up against the glass, staring at them.
Right.
And people are just like, okay, well, maybe we should go up and see what this is all about. As they approach the door, they watch this person just drift upward and vanish into thin air.
Whoa, like head goes up, torso, knees, legs gone.
Yeah, and then just like evaporates.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, Blake Clark, our good girlfriend from before, one night he's working, it's late, and he's in a hallway close by to that location, and he notices that the steel divider door, like the security door, is undulating and like pushing in, almost as if there's like a body forcing it in toward the hallway.
Oh, wow.
There was nothing there, but he just saw this like metal door bending in, and it scared the shit out of him because it completely defied physical reality. It had never happened before, and it looked like the weight of a body being like pushed through these bars.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's like straight out of the original Haunting, where like the walls are like breathing in on you, and just
Oh my
like,
God, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
the door is like pulsing.
terrifying. Now, supposedly the most haunted hallway on the main floor of the Comedy Store is between the main stage and the original stage. So the original stage, the 99-seat venue, is still there, along with the 450-seat theater that Mitzi Shore opened up. According to lore, I don't know who the comedian is, but there was a comedian who was found levitating off the ground in that hallway, and he went up so high that he ended up hitting his head on the rafters of the ceiling, resulting in requiring spinal surgery.
Oh my God. So he must have hit it pretty hard.
According to what people say, now I wasn't able to find his name, but supposedly, according to legend, people just start levitating there.
That's weird.
And we'll get a little bit more into the levitations when we get into the showroom. But another super haunted hallway is the one that leads to the sound booth. It's like another kind of like paranormal hotspot. So according to an employee of the Comedy Store, one day they found some people like fucking around with a Ouija board back there. They were just like, oh, this spooky ooky hallway that everyone talks about. Let's see if we can channel a spirit.
Right.
They start talking to the Ouija board, and suddenly this like metal side door to the staircase just flew open on them.
Shit.
And they just like abandoned and run away.
Yeah, but they probably didn't say goodbye, which is a no-no.
Oh, you're right. Oh, way to make a bad situation worse.
Right.
No follow through.
Yeah.
All right. Well, some of the earliest reportings of hauntings at the Comedy Store actually came from a guy named Sam Kinison.
Okay.
Now, you can go and see his comedy on YouTube. He died in the 90s, but the deal is, before he was a comedian, he was a preacher, and like a really verbose one. And some people think that maybe this is why he was such a target of the spirits, because he really got the shit end of a stick. Supposedly, when he was performing, they would just have like really weird sound issues, like everything just cuts out of nowhere and then comes back when he gets off the stage. The lights would flicker only when he went on the stage, like just weird shit. Now, the deal is, my past life is as like a theater technician, so I'll tell you right now, shit fucks up all the time.
Right.
But from what I gather, it wasn't just like the regular kind of like interference shit or like stuff malfunctioning. It was just like only when he was on stage, this shit was going out.
And mysteriously going out.
Yeah, and then it started to kind of kick up. So one night he was performing, and as soon as he walked on stage, he started to hear angry voices from the crowd yelling, "It's him, it's him."
Oh.
Yeah, almost as if somebody was in the room and it was like, "Fuck, it's him, let's get him," like that kind of thing.
Yeah, like
and the audience heard it too, supposedly. And it basically got so loud and so rowdy that basically everyone in the audience was just like looking around to find who the fuck was yelling this stuff. And he's standing up on there on the stage, surveying the room, trying to see who's screaming. Nobody is.
That is terrifying.
And by the time everyone realized that there was nobody yelling, the room plunges into darkness, like all the lights go off.
That's some Phantom of the Opera fucking bullshit.
Yeah, mama. So basically Sam Kinison just like got off the stage at that point, and then things basically went back to normal. Now the thing is with Sam Kinison, when he first came to LA, he slept on the stage of the Comedy Store.
No way.
Yeah, so as this haunted shit is happening, he was sleeping on the stage with this guy named Carl LaBeouf. Basically, like, he wasn't famous yet, needed a place to crash.
Yeah.
Mitzi put him up there. The deal is, one night Carl wakes up and Sam is levitating upside down 4 feet off the ground.
Ooh, like Sabrina.
Yeah, like this ghost was holding him up by the fucking ankles. Now, I'm not sure if he got dropped. I'm not sure what else happened. But imagine sleeping in a notoriously haunted club with your friend. You think everything's fine. You wake up in the middle of the night and he is floating upside down by his ankles next to you.
I just like fucking can't. Like, that's too scary to think about.
Yeah, that's nightmare shit, girl. And the deal is, a lot of audience members say that they see spirits in the main showroom as well when they're sitting down to the comedy show. So a lot of people report seeing guys in like 1940s style suits walking in between the crowd, and like comedians say that they see it from the stage.
Right.
And then basically these people end up vanishing or not actually being real people. But a lot of folks think that these might be like the mafia people, just kind of, you know, like walking around, making sure everything's okay in the room, that kind of shit.
Surveying.
Yeah, just men trying to exert control on a situation.
Man spreading from the afterlife.
Exactly. They just can't let anyone do their fucking jobs. Especially this guy named Joey Gaynor, who's a good Judy of Blake Clark. So the two of them will have some adventures later on. Joey's got some own stories of his own, though, because basically one night he was shutting down everything at the Comedy Store. He was like the only person left there. He's turning off the lights, and he was like, I was never freaked out by doing this. Turning off the lights is a super easy thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
He goes through the main showroom, goes to the light switch, turns around, and when he looks back out into the main showroom, all of the chairs that had been stacked on the tables were pulled to the center of the room and just in this like huge pile.
That's weird.
Like a 10-foot pile of chairs.
And no noise, no commotion, nothing, just turn around and bam, chair pile.
Yeah, and there's some other chair related shit that's gone on there too. So Blake Clark, one night he's shutting down and he sees the stool that's on stage for the comedians move 20 feet across the stage, just slide, and he hears it like going across the floor, catches his attention, and he just sees it moving on its own accord with no one pushing it. Now, one time Joey and Blake were in the main showroom area and Joey decided to get tough with the ghosts. So Blake is basically like, no girl, don't do it. Joey's like, I don't give a fuck, mama. He yells out and he challenges whatever was haunting the room to come get a piece of him.
Wrong move.
Yeah, like, stop trying to be a fucking tough guy. You're not gonna fight a ghost. It's not gonna end well for you. It's like, girl, we know that this thing can pull people up by its ankles.
That's the tea.
And slam your head into rafters and cause spinal damage.
Yeah.
He yells out, he's Britney Spears, you all want a piece of me, whatever. Basically, Joey and Blake then see an ashtray levitate off of a nearby table and just whip itself past Joey's head. Now he dodges it and then it just slams and hits the wall behind him and like breaks.
Well, yeah.
Don't fuck with a ghost.
No, they have nothing better to do than fuck your shit up.
And this ghost looks like it's been in fucking prison training for years because it's strong. It can do shit.
Yeah.
It's probably got a lot of tattoos by this point. So another thing too that happens in the main showroom is that sometimes people think that they can hear screams and growls coming from the basement.
Oh, our favorite place in the Comedy Store.
Yeah, and this is why some people actually believe that there may have been a back alley abortion clinic in the basement, not upstairs, because supposedly they hear specifically the screams of women coming up through the floor sometimes.
God damn.
So the basement is supposedly where the most evil, spooky stuff resides. Now, Blake Clark has had a few notable experiences with the basement to the point that he refuses to go down there 100%. So basically, Blake and and a ton of other people say that they've seen a smoky apparition down in the basement that hangs out close to this pink overstuffed couch that used to belong to Mae West.
I mean, that's where I'd be.
I know, right? This ghost is totally down with our aesthetic. Maybe it's the ghost of Mae West.
Maybe. Yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah, right?
In her wildest role ever, in drag as a mafia boss.
Yes, I love it, with her big pink furry couch.
So according to Joey Gaynor and Blake Clark, they were working one night and they heard a ruckus down in the basement. They go down there to see what's going on. And when they get down the stairs and they're kind of looking around, they end up seeing an apparition forming in the middle of the room. They say that it was snaking upwards and downwards. And it was this big amorphous black form that was about 7 feet tall.
Ooh.
And they got this really overwhelming kind of foreboding feeling, like they really felt like it was something demonic maybe.
Yeah.
And it actually terrified them so much that they just ran without thinking out of the basement out onto the street.
Wow.
Yeah, and they absolutely could not believe what they saw. So Joey and Blake go back into the Comedy Store and they're like, well, we have to go down into the basement again. We have to know if this was really what we thought we saw.
Yeah.
They go back down there, and as soon as they hit the bottom, they see the apparition that they saw before, but this time it's crouching in a corner. And as they say, as soon as it noticed them, it started making a direct line for them. It just started coming at them. So they ran the fuck out of there, slammed the door behind them. No, ma'am.
Yep.
Now, a little while later, Blake had to go back down into the basement. It was 3 a.m. and he was closing up, and the staff could hear some really weird noises coming from down there.
Right.
He goes down to the basement and he can hear a guttural growling coming from this corner that didn't really have any light in it.
Of course.
Yeah. And then he hears a weird sound. He looks over and there's this wooden door to what we think might have been the kill room. And it's doing the same thing that metal door upstairs was doing. It was pushing out toward the basement, almost like the weight of a body was pressing up against it. And then he realized the growling that he was hearing was also coming from that direction as well. So he just ran back up the stairs again, slammed the door, was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But he fucking stayed on because Blake had one more experience. So one night he's working, and again, mysterious noises downstairs.
Right.
Now, if I were Blake, I'd be like, who am I going to ask to go down there instead of me? Yeah. Doesn't cross his mind. He goes down into the basement. This time he doesn't see an apparition, but right before his fucking eyes, he sees a black piece of paper materialize in the air and just fall down.
That's bizarre.
He picks it up. His fucking name is on it.
No.
Yeah, so he just like crumpled it up, threw it down there, runs upstairs, is like, I'm never going back down there again. Whatever the fuck is down there has seen me. It has chased me. It knows my name. I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
And Blake Clark never went downstairs at the Comedy Store again.
Good move.
Nobody was able to find the piece of paper, but a lot of other people have had similar experiences of seeing a big shadowy apparition close to Mae West's pink overstuffed couch in the basement, enough to the point that a lot of people who work there are just like, no, I don't go in the basement. I don't fuck with that. Like, it's just kind of a generally accepted thing. You don't fuck with the basement at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
I say that as somebody who has never been in LA, has never been to the Comedy Store, and can't actually speak from experience.
Yeah.
But oh my fucking God.
Yeah, that shit is scary.
Yeah, so that is the patchwork story of the hauntings of the LA Comedy Store.
Wow, significantly spooky, and what a terrible fate for that beautiful pink couch.
I know, right? Now, the hauntings do continue on to today. People still say that they experience stuff there all the time. A lot of comedians have also come out and said that they think it's complete bullshit. Essentially, the Comedy Store just started leaning into the whole haunted thing, and they do like tours and stuff like that, and like whole nights where you can go and have like a ghosty adventure. But a lot of people consider it to be one of the most haunted places in California, or just kind of like in the States.
Kind of in the world, you know, that's a lot of activity, a lot of spirits in one small parameter.
So that's it.
That sounds spooky, mama.
Yeah, but I want to go someday.
I do too. I want to see a ghost, but I hear that like if you want to see a ghost, you're not going to see a ghost. I don't know if that's true, if that's just some kind of like, if you want it, like, you know, you'll find love when you least expect it. And it's like, you know, will I find a ghost when I least expect it?
Is there anything like Tinder for ghosts? Can you just get set up with like a nice haunting?
I used to have a ghost radar on my phone. I'm pretty sure it was complete bullshit, but it would show you, it would track spirits in your area.
Oh.
It looked like a little submarine, like bing, bing, bing thing. thing, and it would indicate if there was a spirit nearby.
I bet Amethyst Realm would love that. That'd be like Ghost Grinder for her.
That's it. She must have the tea. She knows how to find a ghost.
Yeah. So what do you have this week?
Okay, so this week I thought that I would bring something a little fresh to the podcast, something we haven't talked about yet.
We're finally going to talk economics.
Yes. So, what is your RSVP? Well, RSVP is response s'il vous plaît.
Are you trying to say RRSP?
Yeah, that one. Okay. No, I'm not going to be talking about economics. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Toronto Tunnel Monster.
Oh.
We're bringing her home, and we're talking about monsters for the first time on That Spooky.
Damn, girl.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a tunnel monster?
We have a tunnel monster, allegedly.
Who is she? Have I seen her?
Maybe. I don't know.
Ooh.
We'll see once we describe her. So there's actually only one ever sighting of the Toronto Tunnel Monster, and it took place in 1979, and it actually happened in Cabbagetown on Parliament Street, so like blocks away from where we are right now.
Thanks for blowing up our spot. But yeah, totally. Oh my God. This is real close to home.
Real close
This
to
is like
home.
Bruce MacArthur close to home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a 51-year-old Ernest, we don't have a last name,
Sure.
and his wife were caring for a litter of kittens when one night, one of the kittens had escaped their Parliament Street apartment. Concerned for the kitten's safety and inability to find its way home, Ernest equipped himself with a flashlight and then headed outside to try and find the kitten.
Of course. Oh, good on Ernest.
Yeah, good Ernest. So during his search, Ernest came across a collapsed wall of concrete in front of a small enclosed pathway that led into what appeared to be a narrow tunnelway between his apartment and the apartment building next to his. So when Ernest had the thought that maybe the kitten, being curious and cold, had crawled its way into the tunnel, he began to think that perhaps he should go into the small opening to see if the kitten had made its way in there.
Okay.
So Ernest squeezed himself through the small opening and vanished from the outside world.
Oh.
The tunnel was cold, dark.
Horror movie shit.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty standard,
Yeah.
cold, dark, etc. Ernest pointed his flashlight around and was able to determine through the darkness that the tunnel seemed to go pretty far back and that there were other pathways that extended off the main chute. So he was in like one tunnelway and then there were other tunnelways coming off of it.
Okay.
Calling and listening for the kitten, Ernest stepped further into the tunnel, but immediately froze when his flashlight landed on a small furry creature hunched down towards the ground in the tunnel.
What?
In a 1976 article from the Toronto Sun, Ernest would go on to explain that the creature was about 3 feet tall. It was covered in thick gray hair, and it had slanted eyes that seemed to glow orange and red in the beams of his flashlight.
Now, this is Toronto. Are we sure that's not a raccoon?
Well, we'll get into some theories in a little bit. So Ernest froze in fear as the creature lurched. It wasn't until the creature opened its mouth and demanded Ernest to go away, that he was able to regain the ability to move as he ran backwards and saw the creature disappear into another tunnelway.
An English-speaking monster.
An English-speaking monster.
Oh my God, it's got the power of knowledge too. That's terrifying. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I don't like a smart monster.
Right? I like a dumb monster like Frankenstein.
Yeah,
It's
give me
like-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Frankenstein can't even give a fucking flower to somebody.
That's right.
I love that.
Yeah, but yeah, you don't want a strategic, coherent monster.
Yeah, no. And if anything, dim your light when you're in front of me, monster. I don't want to see what you can do.
Exactly. So Ernest was freaked the fuck out, so he hurried and crawled through the collapsed concrete and then returned to the outside world. He was totally terrified, so Ernest dashed home to the safety of his apartment, and his lost kitten had never been found.
I was gonna say, so he was just like, fuck that kitten?
Well, he was just like, what the fuck was that? Essentially fuck that kitten, but I think he was kind of in survival mode at this point.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, fight or flight kind of thing.
Yeah, oh, poor kitten, though.
So Ernest kept his experience a secret. He only really told his closest friends and family for fear of being accused of being a liar or drunk or crazy. He wanted to keep up those appearances, mama. Those appearances were important.
Yeah, I mean, reputation's all you have in Cabbagetown.
Exactly. Reputation is everything, just ask Taylor Swift. So Ernest's wife would claim that when Ernest returned home that night, that he was was visibly shaken and in a state she had never witnessed before. So she testified that, like, yeah, he was legitimately terrified. So just like his wife, though, those in whom Ernest had trusted to tell his experience to would also claim that he seemed very genuine in recounting the experience. Everyone he told truly believed that he had experienced something in the tunnel that night, but what it was, no one could say. So sometime after his encounter, Ernest was approached by a reporter for the Toronto Sun named Lori Goldstein. So Goldstein had heard Ernest's story from an acquaintance who had heard the story from a coworker who was one of Ernest's family members that he told the story to. So like this was literally like a friend of a friend situation.
Oh my God, like you move to the city and you think you're gonna get away from that small town bullshit, but no.
It will find you. I mean, a city is really just a bunch of small towns clumped together.
It's human nature.
Yeah. So anyway, hearing this story, Goldstein was pretty interested, so she was able to track down Ernest and asked him if she'd be able to interview him about his experience for an article in the newspaper. It took some convincing, but Goldstein was able to convince Ernest to agree to the interview under the promise that his last name would not be made public.
Oh, okay.
Which is why we don't know it.
You do you, Ernest, whatever helps you sleep at night.
Right? And you know, it's just really a diva move. It's like Madonna, it's like Cher, who else?
Brandy, Monica, Maya, Aaliyah.
I mean, yeah. But we could really just stop it at Brandy because the diva train stops there.
Totally.
So Ernest had the interview with Lori, and during the process of like putting the article together, Ernest was accompanied by some staff from the Sun and returned to the location of the strange sighting that he experienced in March of 1979. So when they entered through into the tunnel the second time with the staff, together they found the corpse of a cat which was half buried in the tunnel. Now this was not the corpse of the kitten that had gone missing, but of another cat. And this discovery actually reminded Ernest, he was like, yo, wait a minute. I remember hearing strange noises like animals in pain coming from the tunnel a few nights prior to my encounter. So people thought this was kind of interesting. But then after that, after they kind of examined this cat, Ernest then showed the Sun reporter exactly where he had seen the strange being. He stated, the last I saw the creature, it was heading off into the darkness. The passage seemed to drop down very quickly and go a long way. So it was speculated that the tunnel, in fact, led to sewer systems and that the entranceway beside Ernest's apartment was an access point used by the creature to come to the surface.
Oh.
As the story began to hit, safety concerns prompted the Toronto Sewer Department to thoroughly inspect the tunnels, as it was feared that the area may attract children to go and investigate.
Oh, yeah, like Stranger Things kind of shit.
Exactly, yeah.
Those little jam-handed kids can keep their mitts off anything.
Exactly, right? They're like, ooh, I want to go into the Upside Down. Let's do it. Monsters,
Totally.
I'm there.
They're like, I want to meet a smack-talking sewer Ewok, too.
Yeah, mama. So Ernest's story is very strange, but when the sewer employees heard about it, they didn't really like ridicule it or really find it that strange.
They're like, oh, that's Barry.
Kind of, exactly, yeah. One worker was quoted in the paper article stating, people who work on the surface just don't know what it's like down there. It's a whole different world. Who would have thought that a few years ago that people would be living in sewers, and yet they found some in New York a few years back. Another worker was quoted as saying, I don't know what Ernest saw down there, but I'll tell you one thing. If I could get in there, I sure as hell wouldn't want to go down alone. And these are sewer workers, mama.
Fuck.
Yeah, some brave unsung heroes.
Yeah, definitely.
So the article was released, it got quite a bit of attention, but there had never been any other accounts of any kind of experiences like Ernest's. Goldstein, the reporter, had been asked many years later about the case, and then she admits that she can't quite remember where the entrance to the tunnel was before it was covered over by sewer workers, so it became virtually impossible to trace back. And with only a first name of the person who experienced all this, it just makes the story like really difficult to pinpoint.
That is so fucked up. And like, what do sewer workers know that we don't know? Like, are they harboring fucking chupacabras down there? Like, what kind of cryptid shit is happening underneath our feet right now?
Right, mama? Well, you want to get into it? Because we can get into it.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Okay, so there are really kind of like three main theories of what this could be. Outside of something like, you know, a raccoon, another human being, or a monkey, which is also like a thing, because if you can remember the IKEA monkey, that cute little monkey in a coat, that was at a Toronto IKEA.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, it was in like North York.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you remember the IKEA monkey?
Yeah, I remember hearing about it, but I mean, fill us in.
Okay, well, it was just a monkey that was like randomly loose in IKEA about like 5 or so years ago. We'll post a picture on Instagram. It's pretty cute.
Yeah, we'll educate y'all.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't make up for the conversation.
Yeah, no, these are just some plausible theories that people made, like maybe it was a raccoon, maybe it was a person, maybe it was a monkey. But a lot of people think that maybe it was this creature called the Meme-Gwesi.
Who is she?
So the Meme-Gwesi are small water spirits. They're usually said to inhabit rivers or riverbanks in Algonquin mythology.
Okay, so it's an indigenous legend.
Yes, exactly. And for anybody who doesn't know, the Algonquin are one of Canada's many, many First Nations tribes who inhabited Toronto long before the white people waltzed in, stole their land, murdered their people, and destroyed their culture.
And then built condos everywhere.
Yes. So anyway, as I said, the Meme-Gwesis are small riverbank dwelling water spirits. They are considered to be pretty benign creatures, I suppose, kind of like akin to fairies, trolls, leprechauns, that same ilk.
And that's why it was just like, get away from me, instead of like coming at him or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it wasn't there to fight.
I love a pacifist monster.
Yeah, me too.
That's my vibe.
Though as passive as they may be, they are known to wreak havoc when they are not shown proper respect.
So if he had like kept walking toward him and was like, no, I want to talk.
Yeah, it might have tried to fuck some shit up.
Tell me the future. Yeah.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Y'all might be like, Tyler, they are river-dwelling creatures, so why would they be underground? Well, fun fact, the city of Toronto once had numerous streams and waterways, and in fact, it still does. So stopping a natural flowing body of water is not very easy. So rather than trying to reroute these rivers and streams, they essentially just built on top of them. So they created these like pathways, these infrastructures that allowed the water to flow freely and kind of connect with the sewer systems. So underneath the city, there are just a lot of bodies of water that are just constantly streaming.
Oh, wow.
Which means there are actually a lot of inaccessible tunnels beneath the city that aren't open to the public. So lots of tunnelways. There are even some tunnelways that lead between old buildings around the city. I think there's even an abandoned or like unused level of transit, like underground subway transit, like a subway station that's just abandoned underground. That was just like an abandoned project. So there's like a lot of shit going on beneath this city, mama.
Girl.
Yeah.
Infrastructure for the Chupacabra settlement.
That is it. So anyway, because of these river systems being buried underneath, it is possible that the Meme-Gwesi are still living around the riverbanks, but now underground. And then it's like, if they are living underground, what has this like subterranean environment done to them over the years?
Oh my God, maybe they're bioluminescent.
Right? Who knows?
Yeah, they're like those light-emitting cave bugs.
Yes.
That's so Planet Earth meets Never-Ending Story. I love it.
Right? So some people believe the Meme-Gwesi theory. Others have some other ideas of what might be going on underneath Toronto. And that is aliens, mama.
Oh, girl. We're here.
Yep. So some people have theorized that perhaps the creature Ernest encountered in the tunnel was in fact an alien. So there have been rumors for quite some time that there is an alien base located underneath Lake Ontario, and that many of the tunnels underneath the city lead to this UFO hideaway and provide discrete pathways for extraterrestrials to move in and out without being detected.
Oh my God, that's why I got an infection when I swam in it that fucking time, remember?
Alien parasite.
Oh my God, yeah. I had a cut on my leg and I had like red veins like fucking coming out from that area after I swam in the water off Toronto Island for like an hour once.
Yeah.
Oh my God, aliens are inside my body.
Maybe, mama. You might be an alien right now. Who are you?
I'm pregnant.
With an alien.
That explains so much.
It does.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Take me. I'm ready.
Well, alien parasites aside, it is also rumored that certain areas of the city are more highly charged with magnetic energy, which results in a higher accident rate in those parts of the city. That sounds a little bit shady.
Yeah, that sounds like a real great excuse for fucking up your Prius.
Exactly, right? Or just like maybe some bad infrastructure. So it's like, ugh, we didn't do as good of a job on that intersection as we could. Alien magnetic waves.
Totally.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, the loop-de-loop around Queen's Park, that's aliens. That's not a fucked up road system.
No, alien. And this legend of the UFO base hiding beneath Lake Ontario arose from some sightings of strange lights that sometimes hovered above or around the lake. However, some people explain these lights as just the fact that the area around the lake over the years has been developing rapidly. So lights that were once not there are now all of a sudden there because there are new infrastructures, new homes, new places being built.
Yeah, it's hard to get pitch black in downtown Toronto.
Exactly, yeah. And even though it is a big lake, on a clear day, you really can see faintly across from it. So a lot of people believe that it could just be like light reflecting off the water, off the sky in really weird ways that are tricking people's eyes.
Well, yeah, we used to live on the other side of the lake. Like before we moved to Toronto, you could see Toronto on a clear day.
Yeah, you could totally see all the buildings and things like that. So that's totally plausible, easy to explain. And we've definitely heard this concept before. There is a popular conspiracy theorist who goes by the pen name Commander X.
Ugh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can smell the Axe body spray now.
Yeah. So he wrote a book describing multiple alleged alien bases all over the world, many of them being underneath huge bodies of water, and Lake Ontario is one of the ones that he cites. But Commander X's bibliography is pretty sensational and definitely conspiratorial. His name is Commander X, or their name is Commander X.
Yeah, it sounds really grounded.
But in any case, the UFO-based urban legend has led some to speculate that the tunnel monster is actually of alien origin, or perhaps even an alien experiment. So, there is another theory as to what this creature could be. And Johnny, you've been teasing it this whole entire time. One of my favorite mythical creatures in the world, the Chupacabra.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm psychic.
You are.
It's the alien pregnancy.
Yeah, it's the alien parasite. You're right.
Yeah.
So if not an alien, there are other explanations as to what the creature could have been. It's actually interesting to note that the description of the creature provided by Ernest and an artist's rendering, which was included in the original Toronto Sun article, which we will share on Instagram, resembles some current reports of the South American Chupacabra.
Girl, we do have an international airport.
We do. Maybe it came over on a flight.
Maybe they took that 747 bus to the Pearson. Who knows?
You never know, mama.
Yeah, come on, get it.
So if you don't know what the Chupacabra is, in South America, Puerto Rico, and parts of the United States, they are mythical creatures who roam the countryside. They are meat-eating monsters that typically go after livestock, such as cattle, chickens, goats, and even family pets. Many of the animals that have fallen victim to the Chupacabra attacks are often drained of all of their blood with two small round bite marks somewhere on their body.
But their nails are done.
Every
time. French tips without fail.
Yeah, hard acrylics, spare no expense.
Love it.
So the Chupacabras are described as being approximately 3 feet in length, and they typically have red eyes, just like the tunnel monster. And although they're usually known to have hairless, leathery skin, there are a few stories of Chupacabras that have scales, wings, or fur. Furthermore, it could also be possible that the Chupacabras living as far north as Toronto keep their fur, considering how cold Canada is in the winter.
It's the Northern Arctic Chupacabra.
That's it.
Love it. Yeah, the Snow Chupacabra.
The Snow Chupacabra.
We know her well.
Yeah, we do.
Her name is Celine Dion.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I love Celine.
We love Celine. She's wild, though.
I know.
I mean, she's got Chupacabra energy coming through.
She's got big Chupacabra energy for days.
For sure. So, it is possible that the tunnel monster could be a Chupacabra, or at least a genetic cousin, such as the, and now I couldn't find the exact pronunciation of this, so hopefully I'm doing it correctly, the Omaginacus. So, the Omaginacus is the name of another mythical beast. Omaginacus in English literally translate to the ugly one, and it is a monster that was frequently seen 40 or so years ago, which would line up pretty correctly with the timeline in which Ernest experienced the tunnel monster.
I finally understand my childhood nickname.
All these years later.
No, Omaginacus, finally.
And I bet you they just told you it meant pretty baby.
Yeah, all these years.
So with these similarities, the Omaginacus is a prime tunnel monster suspect, although there are notable differences. So Amajanakus are definitely furry and have large teeth, but they also have a bald face and are far shorter than the 3-foot monster seen in 1979.
Oh, yeah?
Though some believe that maybe just by the perspective of being in the tunnel in an enclosed space in the dark, the creature may have looked bigger than it actually was.
Totally. Leave it to a man.
Yes. So Amajanakus are river-dwelling creatures that vaguely resemble a mix between a beaver and an otter, and that sounds so cute.
Oh, little skinny face.
Little skinny faces.
Oh,
little
cute.
skinless, hairless faces.
Skinless.
Wait, hairless?
Yeah.
Sorry. So again, the Amajanakus have not been really experienced very often, but in 2010, a corpse of an Amajanakus was reportedly found washed up on a shore along the Hudson Bay. As the creatures are scarcely reported, they hadn't been for decades. Many elders in the area believed that the sudden appearance of the dead Amajanakus was a bad omen for the times to come. It had actually been 2 nurses that discovered the carcass after their dog had pulled it from the river during a hike.
Ooh.
So the women looked at the creature long enough to take a picture and be thoroughly disgusted, but after that, they nudged it back into the river, thinking it was just some ordinary woodland creature who met an unfortunate end. So they found this weird corpse, took a picture of it, and then sent it back upriver.
Great. And then bad luck befalls Toronto.
Right.
Is this shortly before Rob Ford was elected?
Well, 2010, so
Sounds about right.
sounds about right.
If not, we're paying for it with fucking Doug Ford now.
Yes, mama. The curse continues. So it wasn't until these pictures were shared that it was speculated that perhaps this creature was a little more out of the ordinary. So people were like, oh my god, it's a Amajanakus. So based on the pictures the women had taken, many experts have suggested it was perhaps a muskrat, although the teeth were not characteristic of a muskrat. And I'll just point out, we will share this picture on social media as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't even know if I want to see it.
Do you want to see it right now?
I guess. Am I going to be able to eat my post-show Cheetos after this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So this was the picture that the nurses took.
What the fuck?
Right?
What the fuck?
It literally doesn't look like anything in this world.
Oh, no, it looks like a pig badger.
It does.
Like a warthog.
Yeah, it looks like this weird warthog thing. So, you know,
Oh.
yeah, the idea of a beaver and an otter being combined together sounds cute, but if this is it, mama,
No.
it's not cute.
No, she's not winning any pageants.
No, ma'am. Some speculated that it was a muskrat. The teeth didn't really look like that of a muskrat. So others thought that maybe it was the remains of a baby bear that was badly decomposed by the water. But why didn't it have fur on its face?
Yeah.
Right?
That's not a bear, that's a hell pig.
Yeah, exactly. So the similarities are just way too weird, and it looks way too intense to be some kind of hoax. And like, if it was a hoax, if it was something that somebody planted there, like, what are the chances? It's basically in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't like that photo. We're gonna get flagged on Instagram for sure.
Right?
Oh, fuck.
Beware.
Ugh.
But maybe the IKEA monkey will make up for it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Can you show me the IKEA monkey? I know, we'll do it after the show, whatever.
Okay, so basically, here are our theories. What did Ernest encounter? Did Ernest encounter Mamaguesi? Did Ernest encounter an alien? Did Ernest encounter a Chupacabra? Did Ernest encounter a Umjanakus? Or did Ernest encounter the IKEA monkey? It's really kind of up to you to speculate. Nobody's ever going to know. Ernest has never spoken about it, and no one has ever seen the creature since. And that is the Toronto Tunnel Monster.
Thank you. I hate it.
You're so welcome.
That is so unsolved. That is so close to our home. I will never walk the dog on Parliament Street ever again.
Right?
Holy fuck.
Fleetwood loves sticking his nose in holes.
Yeah, and he loves Parliament Street.
He does.
Oh my god. Oh, this changes everything. Oh no. God. All right. Well, good one, Tyler.
Thanks,
You
yeah.
got under my fucking skin.
Our first monster story.
Yeah, it's almost as if he did the monster that lives in our fucking closet.
Basically, yeah. I mean, when I was researching, just scouring the internet, and I saw this, I was like, Toronto Tunnel Monster? I've never heard of this. I need to do this.
I need to know her.
I did, and now that I know her, I don't want to know her.
Well, I hope it's dead. All right, well, we're at that point of the show that we love getting to. I ask you the age-old question. Tyler, what did you learn this week?
I guess this week I've learned that if you've somehow inherited a beautiful, lush, pink couch that was once owned by Mae West, it is an absolute offense to put it in a goddamn haunted basement.
Love it.
Not having it.
Yes, thank you. We need to respect our divas, please and thanks.
Yes. Johnny, what have you learned this week?
Well, I would have to say that this week I learned the power of sharing secrets. Tell a person who's a hell of a lot younger than you what's gone on in your life. Have you seen a monster? Give someone the info. If you don't want to spill the tea while you're here on Earth, totally cool. But at least give us the info so years later we can at least know the facts.
That's it. Mark Twain that shit. Like when Mark Twain was alive, he wrote a book and he was like, this book cannot be published until 100 years after I'm dead.
Yeah.
Because he was talking a lot of smack about a lot of people and he was like, I'm going to be dead. They're going to be dead. Here's the tea.
Totally. Yeah, it's a new day. Start a shit list. Lock it in a vault. Live your life Mark Twain style. So thank you everyone for joining us this week. We really appreciate it as always. Now, if you're enjoying the show and you want to be able to access some bonus content, you can sign up at patreon.com/thatspooky. There's also a link that you can click in the episode description. We have too many episodes out so far. The first one's about Tyler and my own personal paranormal experiences. And the second one is in the format that the rest of them will be in, just kind of bite-sized stories that couldn't fit on the main show. But it's kind of like a 30 to 40 minute version of the main show.
Yeah.
So in mini episode number 2, we're talking about a super popular occult hotspot and a barnyard ghost. That's all I'm going to tell you. And if you don't, that's totally cool. In fact, you can show support for the show 100% free just by going on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening and leaving us a review and a 5-star rating, and helps us get the word out about the podcast.
Yes. Get that word out, honey. If you're loving the podcast and you want to have some visual content to accompany what you're hearing, you can always head over to our Instagram where we post pictures related to our episodes and also a lot of fun other stuff. And that's at That's Spooky Pod on Instagram.
That's THATSSPOOKYPOD. And we're also on Twitter under That Spooky Pod as well. You can also go to thatspooky.com and get show notes, listen to episodes, look at pictures from today's episode, everything in one spot. It's great.
It's cute. And then if that's not enough and you want to share one of your own spooky stories or you just want to email us and say hello, you can send us an email at thatsspookypod@gmail.com.
Yeah, spelled just like in the Twitter and the Instagram. So thanks again, everyone. We love you very much. Kissy kisses. And don't forget, if you're going to be a bitch,
Be a spooky bitch.
Bye.